Libra season. This thing likes to zoom in randomly at times. Okay, how are you all doing? Hope you guys are okay. All right, let's get into our reading. I'm using my Marseille deck today. I'm very excited to learn more about this system. It can be very intimidating. I think it looks quite intimidating, but I've seen people on YouTube love it. There are actually people that are kind of Marseille enthusiasts, and this is all they use. They don't really use the RWS or the Thoth. The Thoth is highly inspired by this deck, and this deck predates the RWS and the Thoth that are the two most popular ones. So this is a system I'm really curious to work with. But let's get started. So let's pull some cards for Libra season and see what's happening out there in the cosmos. And the cosmos is a reflection of our inner world as well. It's my belief, and Carl Jung's beliefs as well, but I kind of share that too, that our minds, our souls are much larger than we think they are. So whatever is happening outside of us, in the cosmos, but also like in our environment, it is a reflection of how we feel inside, even though I think a lot of the times it doesn't make sense. But it's pieces of the puzzle. It's synchronicities, it's signs, it's our unconscious, which we hear a lot about shadow, right? Shadow work. And I'm definitely a big advocate of shadow work, but we hear shadow and we think immediately dark because we've been so conditioned, especially by the church, but in general, to believe that dark is evil, right? We watch movies. I was gonna say Disney movies, but it goes beyond that. These hero movies, and there's always a villain, and we think the villain is the shadow, and the shadow is evil. But really, the shadow is just something that is unconscious, something that is not in the forefront of our minds, something we're unaware of. That's the shadow. Something is hidden. So when we are in an environment that we're attracting situations that we're not loving, that doesn't really vibe with us, that's an opportunity for us to stop and be like, and almost ask our shadow, ask the soul, hey, what am I not seeing here? How does this relate to something deep and precious, like within myself? It's not always pleasant, but the shadow can also be success. The shadow can also be love. We can be fearful of love. We can be fearful of putting ourselves out there, and that becomes our shadow because it's something that we don't want to look at. We want to reject. We don't want to see. I think a lot of us have heard fear of success, right? And we all want some kind of level of success, whatever success means to us. But when we think of shadow, we think of something negative, anger, sadness, betrayal, right? But if we're thinking of fear of success and success being in the shadow, kind of makes you think, hey, the shadow is not evil. It's not bad. It's something that we're just unaware of. So why do I self-sabotage, right? Whenever something is kind of going well for me, whenever there is some kind of success for me, why do I self-sabotage? Why do I run away? Why does my body suddenly feel sick, right? All right, anyway, so Libra season, I've got 2 cards here so far. I want to pull one more for us and see what we got. We're using, like I said, we're using the Marseille deck today. I'm very excited. It's this new system to me, even though like I said, it predates the RWS and the Thoth systems, but I'm excited to work with this. So we have the 7 of Swords. Now, for me, whenever the swords are pointing down, it's almost like you're staking a claim. You're making a claim. There's a decision that either needs to be made or you've kind of already made it and you need to stick with it. Now, next one is we have the King of Cups in reverse. Interesting. Libra is ruled by Venus, and Libra, it's the symbol of the scales, right? So there is that balance, that back and forth. Also in the tarot, it's the card of justice, which we see the justice holding the scales. I should have pulled this before we started. but it's in here somewhere. Oh, here she is. So this is Justice. She's holding the scales here, and she's holding a sword upwards, the sword of truth. The swords in the tarot have to do with the element of air, of communication, thought process, rationality. So here we have her pointing her sword up, with the scales finding that balance. And as I said, Libra is ruled by Venus. So there is love there. There is pleasure. Libras tend to be, but you got to look at your chart overall. But Libra is an energy that can be a bit more extroverted. They like people. They want to connect with people, and they kind of want to get to know. It's that scale again. They love that balance, and that I'm kind of picturing you putting from one bowl to another and kind of finding that the balance between the two. Now, when I look at the King of Cups in reverse, that's what brings me to all this, and the Venus energy and this love situation. The King of Cups in reverse, it's almost like we don't want to look at love. And when I say love, of course it can be romantic love, but all kinds of love. Love in our family, love for ourselves, love for our jobs and projects. So when we're looking at the King of Cups in reverse, to me, there is this call back to simplicity. I'm looking at my tree of life right here. And the kings live here in Hokmah, which is wisdom. It translates to wisdom. Now, whenever I see, like for example, if you got the King of Cups upright, the movement would be down, in my opinion, because movement down means we're going down into the earth, which means we're making the ethereal, we're making the abstract real, right? We've all heard of like our manifestations. Everything starts with a thought. And thoughts to me are up here in the ethers, in the simplicity of the cosmos, but then we got to bring it down into a more dense 3D vibration. But we got the King of Cups upwards, reversed, which tells me that he's going upwards. It's almost like his feet are up towards the top of the card, which means that the feet go upwards, which means that he goes from here to here. This is source. This is number one. This is the seed where this whole tree grows from. So what I'm looking at with the King of Cups in reverse is we got to go back to basics. We got to go back to ask why. Why? I think that's the question, why? There's a great book that I read, and I actually kind of want to read again, but it's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And I love it. It's very business oriented. He talks a lot about Apple and I think Walmart in there as well, but there are examples where he's kind of always trying to get you to why. Why do I read cards? Why do I love this kind of spiritual process? And in my opinion, Carl Jung kind of said it best in one word: individuation. It's this process of integration of the self, of the shadow self and the light self, of all the selves that we have within us. It's an acceptance of all of those selves. It's an awareness and an integration of all of those selves. So Carl Jung calls it individuation. I think that sums it up pretty clearly. And that's my why. I'm a little bit obsessed with the idea of individuation. I love to explore that in myself, in my situations, in my environment, and in my relationships with people. So my work here with the cards is to always kind of get us deeper into individuation, into really integrating all of ourselves and becoming this enlightened self on who we really are and who we're meant to be. So the King of Cups upward in reverse is telling me that we got to go back to basics. We got to go back to asking ourselves why. The King of Cups upright, he's all about love. He rules with love. He's a romantic. He's a poet. He's an artist. And he kind of like the Libra energy we're in right now. He embodies everyone and he understands everyone's gifts, and he kind of knows where to place your gifts so they can thrive. That's him upright. With him reversed, it feels like he lost, and as a mirror, we perhaps have lost the why. We perhaps have lost the love. The reason why we started what we started and why we do certain things or why we don't do certain things. And there's that connection of the self. So we started with the Seven of Swords, and actually, I'm not going to say reversed or not, because Marseilles, they're harder to figure out if they're reversed or not, even though the sword is up or down. But to me, as I said, the sword downward, I see it as going into the earth, as if you're staking, like you're claiming something, or you're staking like a flag, right? So here we have the Seven of Swords, and the swords are thought. So going back to the King of Cups, what's our why, right? And we got to go back to what made us kind of stake this claim, what made us say, I'm going to start this. Also, the swords are thought, right? So for me, for example, I love the cards. And one clue for me that tells me that I really do love them is that I just effortlessly, like, I don't have to force myself to sit down and watch a YouTube video on learning tarot. I don't have to force myself to like get a new tarot book and read it. So the question here also is, what are you not forcing yourself to do? Maybe look into that more, and can that become your why? Can that become something that flourishes more in your life and that can grow perhaps into a career? We don't know, but we live in this hustle world that like you just gotta go and do and make. But we never really stop to ask ourselves, like, why am I making this? And if it feels heavy for you, if it feels burdensome and tiresome and laborsome, laborious is the word, that is a clue that either you've lost why you do that thing, or that thing is just not for you and it's just a job. And it's okay, we need jobs. We need jobs and we need to make money, but at the same time, we also need leisure. We need pleasure. We need some sort of like creative relief. And I don't mean like art and stuff if you're not an artistic person, but there is that creative relief. I have a friend that works in IT and he loves computers and he loves learning about IT and technology and user interfaces and things like that. Is that him painting? No, but it's his way of painting. It's his way of being creative, of learning, of accumulating. And he doesn't need to fight for motivation to do it. He just, even if it's 5 minutes, he's like, hey, I kind of want to watch this video. Go for it. That's already learning something. I think we've been so conditioned to by school that like if you don't sit down for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to absorb these things, then you're not really learning. The thing is, we're constantly learning. YouTube videos can be highly educational. Books can be highly educational. Talking to someone that shares the same interests can be highly educational because they can show you something or you can show them something. So anyway, I feel like Libra season is really asking us why. Libras, as you know, as I showed in the Justice card here, she's holding the scales. The scales are this separation of the two. But really, it's almost asking, what is the balance? But I also kind of see it in a metaphorical way, this morphing of the two, and that's individuation. And that's what I talked about in the Tree of Life. The King of Cups, or the kings in general, live here, but because it's in reverse, he's going upwards towards unity. There isn't just the two anymore. They meet in the middle. And in my opinion, and what I'm seeing here with these cards is the why, right? What is our why? Why did we start some things? What is the seed? And that's basically it. All right, guys, I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this Libra season. I'll see you guys for next season, which is what comes after Libra? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll see you guys next time. Have a beautiful night out there.